Welcome to the Theatre of Shadows. Picture yourself in the pre-dawn darkness of no man's land, where the skeletal remains of a shattered oak tree stands against the horizon. To the enemy sniper scanning the desolate landscape through his scope, it's just another casualty of artillery fire. But inside that hollow trunk, a British observer crouches in absolute silence, his heartbeat thundering in his ears as he peers through a cunningly disguised periscope. This is the forgotten art of wartime deception, where survival depended not on firepower, but on the ability to become invisible in plain sight. The soldiers who mastered these techniques understood something profound. The greatest weapon on the battlefield isn't always the one that destroys, but the one that deceives. The creation of observation trees represented fieldcraft, elevated to extraordinary heights. Engineers would spend weeks selecting the perfect specimen, a dead tree already present in no man's land, that enemy forces had grown accustomed to seeing. Under the absolute darkness of moonless nights, working parties would silently excavate the genuine tree while simultaneously positioning a prefabricated steel replica. The steel shell was constructed with painstaking attention to detail, every gnarl and broken branch replicated from photographs and sketches. Bark texture was mimicked using painted canvas and wire mesh, creating a facade so convincing that even soldiers who knew its location struggled to distinguish it from the surrounding devastation. Inside this claustrophobic metal coffin, an observer would spend hours in cramped conditions, legs going numb, breathing shallow to avoid any telltale movement. The interior temperature would plummet during winter nights or become unbearable during summer days. Yet these silent sentinels gathered intelligence that saved countless lives, directing artillery fire with precision that would have been impossible from conventional positions. Beyond individual observation posts, entire landscapes were transformed into elaborate stages of deception. The construction of decoy Paris stands as perhaps the most audacious example of this craft. French engineers studied the city's layout from aerial photographs, then recreated sections of it miles away in open countryside. They fabricated dummy buildings using wooden frames and painted canvas, installed lighting systems that mimicked street patterns when viewed from bombing altitude, and even created false railway lines using whitewashed lumber. The construction teams worked with the precision of theatre set designers, understanding that their audience would be German bombardiers flying at several thousand feet. Every detail mattered because a single inconsistency could unravel the entire illusion. Similarly, inflatable tanks and dummy artillery positions required careful placement and maintenance. Soldiers became students of shadow and perspective, learning how morning light would strike their decoys differently than afternoon sun, adjusting camouflage netting to match seasonal vegetation changes, even creating false track marks in mud to suggest recent movement of phantom vehicles. What made these operations truly remarkable was the psychological resilience they demanded from the men who executed them. Imagine spending your nights constructing elaborate fakes while knowing that enemy shells screaming overhead might be targeting your genuine positions based on yesterday's reconnaissance. The soldiers who maintained these deceptions developed an intimate understanding of their adversaries' patterns and psychology. They learned to think like the enemy observer, anticipating what would draw attention and what would blend seamlessly into the war-torn environment. This required discipline that extended beyond the construction phase into daily maintenance routines. A decoy tank positioned in a field needed fresh track marks after rain. Dummy trenches required occasional simulated activity to seem occupied. The men assigned to these tasks often worked in small teams, developing specialized skills in carpentry, painting, and spatial reasoning that would serve them long after the armistice. The lessons from these silent sentinels resonate powerfully in today's world of preparedness and survival training. The fundamental principle remains unchanged. True security often comes not from confrontation, but from remaining unseen. Modern practitioners of bushcraft and wilderness survival can draw direct inspiration from these wartime techniques when establishing concealed observation points, creating natural-looking shelters that blend into their environment, or understanding how light, shadow, and seasonal changes affect visibility. The ingenuity born from desperate necessity in those trenches offers timeless wisdom for anyone serious about self-reliance and tactical awareness. Subscribe to Fieldcraft Chronicles and share this episode with fellow history enthusiasts and survivalists who understand that the greatest victories are often won before the first shot is fired.